Hello everybody, my name is RedBlockss and welcome back to another video. And can I just say, coming back into Minecraft just feels great. So if you guys didn't catch the previous video that went up on the channel, there's gonna be a link on screen right now. And you see, I made that video just because Minecraft was just not loading, and and today I just load up Minecraft and it loads up. So it feels good to be back at home, and we are back with another video. So today's video's topic was actually requested to me by you guys down in the comment section. And apparently, in the earlier days of my channel, because these comments were from the earlier days, you guys thought that I was a good builder. Like, look at this face. Do you think that this is the face of a builder? So you can probably tell by the content that I do that I am not a type of person which likes to do building, because you see, if you guys obviously watched my videos, you know that I like to do content based upon redstone, survival, and sometimes speedrunning, which I start, but I actually like to do time to time. So from those, you can see a pattern which I like to do Minecraft in a objective way. So meaning that when I do something, I will get an answer or I won't, and things will work or they won't. Now you see, building is a subjective question, and you see, I really don't like that, because you can place a grass block next to a spruce block. Yeah, that will not look good, but technically you can do that. So yeah, subjective things are not up my alley. But you see, if you're a Minecrafter, you have to build something in your life, because if you don't, are you even a crafter? Because crafting is a big part of Minecraft, and building is basically crafting. So yeah, I also, even if I don't like it, I obviously have to build in Minecraft. And since you guys want the tutorial from me, yes, I'm going to be teaching you how I go through a building process. Now, to be fair, you guys did want some specific builds. I guess the two that you guys did mention was a farm, or I guess a barn, and the other one was a modern house. Now, I could do a step-by-step, block-to-block tutorial on those two, but I would think that doing a tutorial block by block is not like making you creative. It's just basically giving you the build that I did, which is fine, but I just feel like giving you the idea of how to build is much more nice, or I should say, makes you a lot more creative. So in this video, I'm going to be taking you through the process that I go through while building a Minecraft build. I hope you guys are going to be enjoying this, and let's get on with the video. And as always, I forgot to mention that there's going to be timestamps down in the description for you to check out if you want to check out any specific step for building. But anyways, let's get on with this tutorial. So how this tutorial is going to work is that, first of all, we're going to be taking this build as a role model, and then I'm going to be taking you through a step-by-step process onto how to, first of all, build this build, but most importantly, build any type of build in the game. You see, these tips and tricks are pretty much as versatile as it can get, meaning that you can take these tips and apply them in any type of build matter as you want. So here we're using a house for an example, but if you want to even build, let's say, a industrial zone, you can use pretty much the same tactics as this one. So with that being said, first of all, before we get into this one, I have one more thing to mention, because you see, I was going for a really basic house, as basic as I can get, but in the time of doing that, I made the best house I've ever made in my career of playing Minecraft. Now, to some of you, this house may not seem that impressive, but to me, this is the best. So yeah, you guys already know who you asked the tutorial for, so I just thought that I would mention that a little bit. Anyways, let's get on with the tutorial. Now, every single thing in Minecraft starts up with an idea. Buildings are nothing new. So let's say you're dreaming while you're sleeping, or let's say you're in the toilet, you're in the shower, or let's say, for my case, you're in the exam or you're studying. You get yourself an idea that you want to build. Keep that idea in mind, because Minecraft is a game with endless possibilities and really no guidelines. So getting an idea is really, really rare. And when you get the idea, you really should keep that in mind, or better yet, write that down. Now, when you get an idea, the possibilities are that you're going to get a blurry image in your head of what the final product of your build is going to be. Now, if that is the case, again, keep that one in mind in specific, because Minecraft is just like if you want to do building, Minecraft is just a platform that you're going to use throughout your blocks to create your imagination. That is literally what I said. So let's move on to the next step. So let's say you have yourself your golden ticket, the idea. Now what's the next thing that you should do? Now let's say when you got your blurry image in your head, you probably had a color scheme in your head, because if not, you're probably having some weird issues in your dream that you're not seeing colors, or you're having some memory issues that you cannot remember the colors. Now I'm not here to address your issues, but you probably rather than not have your eye color scheme in your head. Now what you want to do next is set up a build palette. Now this build palette is obviously not permanent, but you can change this at any time and point. But having a starting point of blocks that you want to use in your build is really useful, as in that you can use them in a creative way rather than just going through your inventory just finding things out. So after you have an idea, just pick out some blocks from the inventory and then just place them down and look at them and think that do they work well with each other. Now if they do, let's move on to the next one. That was all just a pre-build process. Now let's get on with the nitty-gritty of building. So let's say you have yourself a blurry image in your head of what the build is going to look like, and you have yourself the blocks in front of you. Now how do you go about placing blocks? So what you want to do is, first of all, what I like to do after having both of them in my head is I like to figure out the dimensions. Now you see, that is obviously not the way you obviously should go, but that's the way I think you should go. So first of all, what I like to do for basically houses is that I want to take a 7x7 area. I don't know, the 7x7 concept just always helps me out while building a house. So if you're building a house in specific, go for a 7x7 build. But if you're not going for a house, what I would recommend is, first of all, place all the 4 corners, because most rather than not, you're probably going to be building a square. But you should not build a square, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But yeah, it's probably going to have 4 corners at the beginning. So place down all of your 4 corners. Look at them. If they seem a little bit too short for your likings, you can just move them around as much as you want. Or if they seem too much short, you can just shorten them out. So basically, move around with the blocks and figure out how big you want to have them. Now let's move on. What you should do after that is what I like to call the skeleton and the entrance. So the skeleton is basically, once you have your 4 corners in a house, you want to raise them up so that you get nice pillars. And if you're building something else, you get the idea. You can do something else with your 4 corners. But after that, let's get on with the entrance, because let's face it, the most important part of any build is an entrance, because that's probably the most visited thing that you're gonna do with the build. You're gonna visit that place over and over again, and you're gonna see that the most amount of times. Now the back is important, but not as much as the front. So while designing the front, you really should be careful. Now in this case, I'm gonna be using a house as an example, but you can definitely use these trips as another build. So for, let's say, in a entrance case, you want to place a door. Now that door can be a redstone door, a normal door, and any kind of door. So basically what you want to do is just slap it down in the middle, because if it's not central, you're probably gonna scratch out your hair. I do not know why I stopped there, but I apparently wanted to check out that build. Now you see, while designing the front, you should do the details right then. Now that is not true for the rest of the build, because if you start to do details on the build as you go, that's gonna get a little bit too hectic. But the front is basically all designed, so what I like to do is just design as I go. Now, as in terms of designs, you want to put a lot of depth into your build. So as you can see here, this is a depth mania. So basically, if you can stare your eyes over here, we have a lot of depth. So first of all, this door is set in 1 block, as you can see over here. These walls are popped out 1 block. These walls are popped back in 1 block. We have some fences which are popping out, and so on and so forth. Now you see, with this amount of detail, yeah, we are pretty set in terms of what type of detail we want to add into the build. Now, one more, I should say, trick I want to give you guys is that when you're making a build, you should definitely consider adding windows. Now, in some situations, windows are definitely not the answer, because if you're building something meant to be enclosed, you probably don't want some windows. But believe me, in most of the cases, you probably want to have some windows, because windows, first of all, let in light, and the second of all, the reason why our eyes like to look at windows is that we have a lot of windows in our lives in real life. And Minecraft, you're building because you want to recreate real life in some way, shape, or form, right? Now, sometimes that might not be true, but in here, it is definitely is. So as you saw over there, this is basically the stuff that I wanted to tell you guys about how to build. Pretty simple stuff. I mean, you should definitely put more consideration into building an entrance. But if you come out with something like this, you know that you're pretty much good. This entrance is not half bad, and I personally quite like it. Anyways, let's move on to the next parts of this build. Next up, you have yourself a really important part of your build. So you have yourself the entrance, you have yourself the idea, and the block palette. Now you need to get into the main part of the building. So in this part, we're going to be covering the shape of your build, the walls, and the back of your build. Now let's first of all crack on with the shape. Now in the first clip, I mentioned that you should not be building squares. So you see, I obviously cannot control what you can't or cannot do, because it's Minecraft. You're allowed to have all the freedom you want, but since this is a tutorial, I'm going to be saying what you can or cannot do. So squares, they look absolutely beautiful in Minecraft, because Minecraft is literally made out of squares, but you see, they're not quite unique or not quite good looking as some other shapes. For example, we have ourselves the circle. This is a semicircle, not quite a complete circle. We have ourselves the square with some other rectangles coming out of them. So basically what you want to do is avoid building complete square boxes, because yeah, to be quite frankly honest with you, they do not look that good. Just try to add a little bit more shape, or I should say a little bit more form to your build. Now that was all of the shape part of the build. Now let's get on with the walls. Now, in my opinion, walls are the most important part of your build, you see, because you're probably never gonna look at the back of your build, and the front is like, I mean, it works, I guess, but it's basically the front of your build and the only part of your build. Now the walls are pretty much the rest of your build. The other parts are the roof and the ceiling. And to be honest with you, how often do you look up in your roof and your ceiling in real life? Yeah, that's what I thought. You really don't look at the ceiling or the floor that much. So the main part of a build is the walls. Now, you see, walls can pretty much be every single thing that you can imagine. But just for the simplicity of this video, what I'm going to say is, if you're going to build a, should say, wall for a house, basically what you should try to do is incorporate some windows, because as I already mentioned, windows are really good looking, and they really add to your build, no matter which position you put them in. Now, don't go too overboard with windows, because if you put too many, yeah, the house will pretty much look like the outside, but it's actually inside. So put a couple of windows, put a little bit more detail, but you see, since this is going to be the main part of your build, you don't want to go too overboard with the detail. Just keep it to a minimalistic side so that it's easier to see. So as you can see over the main build, I really didn't do too much with this build. I could have possibly added some staircases at the front of them, but even if I didn't do that, they do not look that bad, because they're minimalistic and they look kind of good. Now let's get on with the back of your build. Now, you see, you can do basically everything with the back of your build, because let's say you have a good side at the back of your build, so you want to have that inside. So if you do want to do that, you can obviously have a big window at the end of your house, which I have done in the past, but in this build I did not do that, because as you can see over here, the view from here is not quite nice. So what I basically what I recommend you should do with the end of your build, or what I should say I do with the end of my build, is basically put any kind of design to back it off. Because you see, like, let's say I completely made this out of spruce wood. First of all, it would match too much with this wood over here, and more importantly, it would not look good because it would get samey, and yeah, you get the point. So what I recommend again is to build some kind of design and put that at the end of your build. Now this one might be a little bit more controversial. I basically made a checkerboard pattern. I think it looks kind of good, but let me know down in the comments what you think. But if you guys did that correctly, now you should have a really big chunk of your build done. Oh, sorry, by the way, after you've done the, I should say, the main part of your back, like you're gonna do a little bit more work after the build is completely done. But what I did was just added a little bit more stuff because yeah, it looked a little bit too dire. So basically what I added is a little bit more lights and a little bit more design by adding these slabs. Anyways, that was basically the main part of your build. Now let's get on with some detailing. So next up, you have yourself a part of a build which I kind of look forward to, but when I get to it, I kind of lose idea on how to do it. I'm talking about the roof. Now you see, the roof is obviously a optional part of your build. So meaning that if you want to keep your build completely open, you can completely do that. But you see, most of the time, you're probably not going to be doing that. You probably want a roof on top of your build. Now you see, there's pretty much a million ways you can build a roof. Some builds do not support each other roofs, so meaning that this build kind of looks good with this roof, so this one supports this one. But you see, this build is actually a little bit abnormal, so meaning that most of the builds that you're going to be building is a square, right? So you're probably going to have a square next to a rectangle and some other shapes like that. You're most of the time not going to have a circle. So you see, most of the time then you're not going to be using that roof. You're probably going to be using these two roofs over here. Now I consider these to be the most popular square roofs there are. So this one is known as the Viking roof. So meaning that this goes up in a, I should say, straight manner more than that one. And it meets up at the top, and you can actually tile this over and over again. So meaning that from this block, you can start over again and go over this one. And you can do that on all four sides and then connect them up at the top. It looks really, really nice. Probably my favorite roof of all of them. There's also this one over here, which is known as, I don't know if it's known as this one, but this is the original type of roof that was ever existed. So basically you have yourself your build, then you have a staircase on top of your pillar, and then you just have staircase going up, but with another staircase behind it. I actually quite like this one, even if this is a classic one. Yeah, this one is kind of nice. Now you see, this is again a square build, as I said to you, and if I build one of those, yeah, it would probably not fit this one. So I went for this roof over here, which is the circle build. That's sorry, the circle roof I meant. So the circle roof obviously supports the circle build. Now, obviously, this one, I would say, support a square build. So yeah, you should definitely know more than one type of roof designs because you don't know what type of roof you're probably going to be building in the future. So it's good to know all of them. By the way, this one, I actually went a little bit too fast paced. So hopefully you understood what I said. Anyways, let's move on to other parts of this build. All right, we are now nearing completion. So I'm sorry if the previous clip was a little bit too fast paced. I really couldn't handle that. Anyways, let's finish it off. So in this clip, we are going to be taking a look at how to detail and how to do an interior. So detailing is a part which you have complete power over everything. So detail it as much as you want. And personally, I think I've done pretty much a lot of the detailing as I went because as you see over here, this part over here is already detailed enough. So basically in terms of detail, what I did was add some flower parts with the best flower red tulips. Now in terms of interior, there's only a couple of tips and tricks that I want to give you. So you see, why is the floor so lit when I literally don't even have any lighting box in the complete house? You see, the reason for that is any types of light source blocks can actually shine through any transparent blocks. So I made the flooring out of slabs, so meaning that whenever there's a light source under that slab, there's gonna be light through that slab. A really, really good trick to use if you want to ever use that. Now here we have ourselves a really nice red sofa with some handles and some red carpet. I left this part open because you see, this needs to be functional, right? So if I die, I'm going to be respawning over this block here, unless that spot is taken up. Now, next up, we have ourselves this, I should say, cooking area. We have some storage and all the stuff that you need. It's a cauldron, because why the heck not, and some stuff over here. Basically, the message I'm trying to give you is go for more technicalness in the interior while still keeping the aesthetics, which I think is the main part of a house. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, for the final part of the video, we have ourselves a thing which I've never done in Minecraft, but you should definitely know and do this yourself, which is known as terraforming. Basically, turning the terrain around your house, or I should say your build, into something which feels a little bit more natural, even though it's built by you. So basically, placing some leaves, doing some I should say terraforming in terms of making the landscape fit, all that stuff, alongside making some paths. But with that being said, that is going to do for every single step that you should follow while making a Minecraft build. I know this is probably a little bit more long-winded than you expected, but yeah, there's a lot of things that you have to consider while making a Minecraft build. If you learned something new and enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button. And if you want to stick around for more videos by me and potentially more, I should say, building tutorials, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. And with that being said, guys, I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.